Next up, we have David Shoemaker. David is a gentleman and a poet, and he's created a new piece for our show tonight entitled Difficult.
They said he was difficult because he insisted that he be paid in cash and in full before he would perform. But they didn't know how difficult it was for a black man from the South to provide for his family when the white man who organized the show greeted him warmly at the door and promised him a place among the moon and the stars wasn't anywhere to be found when the show was over. They said he was difficult because he insisted on a rental car with an automatic transmission and a large trunk from the time he arrived in town until he returned to the airport for the next flight. But they didn't know how difficult it could be for a black man in the South to get to the hotel or the airport when the promoter leaves in his car without him. They said he was difficult because he demanded orange juice, snacks, and sandwiches in the dressing room, and 2 Fender dual Showman reverb amps on the stage. And if, God forbid, the promoter couldn't get exactly these things, he would impose a fine of $2,000, payable in cash, before the show. But they didn't know how difficult it could be for a black man to find a place that would serve him food at midnight once the show was over. They didn't realize how hard he worked to ensure his music sounded the way his fans expected. The right way. His way. Sure, he could play his music on any amp, but it would sound more like a cover band than his music. They said he was difficult, and many other things I am too polite to repeat. But they continued to hire him, month after month, year after year, decade after decade, because many people came from miles around to hear him play his music when the sun went down. That piece is, of course, about the immortal Chuck Berry. I had a brief encounter with Chuck. I was out in St. Louis for a convention and was having dinner in the Blueberry Hill restaurant. And Chuck performed 207 consecutive monthly concerts at the Blueberry Hill. He was not scheduled to perform that night, but he did come in to see the show. Now, I had heard that Chuck was not a man to be bothered with trivial things, but he came in with his bolo tie and his captain's hat, and I happened to be wearing my Greek fisherman's cap. So as he walked by, I tipped my hat to him, and he touched his brim in reply. Thanks.